Okay, let's get started. And last class, I hope so, we have covered frequency limitation factors and cutoff frequency partly. We have not completed this, it seems. Let me start with this topic again. The frequency limitation factors and cutoff frequency. We have discussed, the JFET operations and the characteristics of JFET. Now it's time to discuss when we use this JFET as an amplifier. Let us see that what frequency the JFET can permit, and so those things we are going to analyze in today's class. That there are two frequency limiting factors with reference to JFET. The one is going to be the transit time, channel transit time. The second one is channel capacitance charging time. Okay, capacitance charging time depends on the resistance of the equivalent circuit, and also it depends on capacitance. So this is tau is equal to, the formula is R into C. So charging time depends on the resistance of JFET and capacitance. When we say resistance, it includes many resistances within the equivalent circuit. And just have a look at that, various resistances that we have covered in the last class with reference to JFET, and also see different capacitance we have shown with reference to the JFET equivalent circuit. Just go through that, you will understand the capacitance charging time, on what factors it depends upon. Okay, all right, let's move on to the first topic, which is channel transit time. Channel transit time definition is, it's a ratio of channel length versus channel length and saturation velocity of the charge carriers. So, if you take these two ratio, you get channel transit time. So, channel transit time is how much time the charge carriers take to cross the source and drain. Okay, so, if you look at JFET, we have one side there is a source, on the other side we have a drain region, and here we have a gate which is connecting this to source and okay, so the drain. So, this distance is taken as channel length, which is L. Okay, so so this channel is of, suppose if I take this as N channel, then the substrate will be of P type. Okay, so the channel here is going to be, if you have a look at the bottom layer here. Okay, in JFET this channel is, this is, let us consider this is N channel JFET, substrate will be of P type. Okay, so channel is of N type, let us say N type channel. This distance is taken as capital L, channel length, or distance between source and drain. This distance is considered as channel length. Now we are defining the channel transit time with reference to this distance L. Okay, so that's how the formula tau t is equal to L by Vs. Typical values of L are 1 micrometer. If we consider micron technology, then the length is in terms of micrometer. So, L is taken as 1 micrometer, and saturation velocity is close to the speed of light, which is 10 to the power of 7. And the tau t value you can estimate by taking this ratio of these two. The value is found to be around 10 picoseconds. So, this is for micrometer technology, and if you prefer, if you go for other state of the art technologies, this value will come down. Okay. The channel transit time is significant for high frequency devices, especially like gallium arsenide, or the advanced high frequency devices. If we consider, then this channel transit time becomes a significant value, whereas for low frequency devices this value can be ignored. Okay, so there is no point in considering channel transit time for low frequency devices. Another factor which influences the frequency of operation is capacitance charging time. As we have seen in the equivalent circuit, JFET internal circuit contains many resistances, and there are capacitances. Okay, now we will see what capacitance is limiting the frequency of operation. Okay, so the second frequency limitation is the capacitance charging time. That is capacitance, how much time the capacitance takes to charge. Here we are going to discuss with reference to the equivalent circuit shown in this 9.20 figure. Let us move on to the figure. Figure numbers are little different here. So, I am talking now with reference to this figure. Now, you can see this is the equivalent circuit of JFET. Let me draw the JFET symbol. So, this is JFET symbol. We have a gate here and drain, source. The equivalent circuit is shown below here. The original equivalent circuit contains many capacitance and many resistances. All those things we have neglected here because their values are insignificant. So, you can neglect all those values. Only we have considered here two capacitances CGD because this gate terminal is here and drain terminal is here. So, this is a capacitance between gate and drain. Okay. Another capacitance which is limiting the frequency of operation is gate to source capacitance. Okay. So, these two capacitance are responsible or controls the frequency of operation of the JFET. Okay. So, this is the simplified equivalent circuit is shown here for the JFET. So, this is a JFET symbolic symbol. Okay. So, JFET symbol and this is going to be an equivalent circuit of JFET. Okay. Ignoring components that are redundant. Okay. Okay, and you can see that JFET there is a current flow here which is IDS, drain to source current here. So, the same current what you are seeing in equivalent circuit, this is drain to source current. The value of this current is equal to GM times VGS. GM is transconductance and the VGS is voltage applied between gate and source. So, it is an AC voltage. Okay. So, we are to analyze the frequency limitations, we use this JFET as amplifier. So, this is going to be the AC source and I will see that what frequency this circuit equivalent circuit can pass from input to the output and what frequency components here will be blocked by this circuit, we will see that. Okay. So, this is a current here, the current source which is similar to the actual device IDS. The value of this is GM times VGS and where VGS is the AC voltage applied between gate and source at the input. These two capacitances, as we told, it is dominant capacitances that decides frequency of operation. So, this whole circuit is called as small signal equivalent circuit with capacitance. Resistances are ignored here because they are independent of the frequency. So, the resistance we do not consider in this frequency domain analysis. Okay, let us move on to the things what we are discussing. So, we have looked into the figure 9.20, it is not exactly 9.20, the figure numbers are changed here, kindly note that. What we have shown is the simplified equivalent circuit and it has got two things, two capacitances CGS and CGD. Rest other capacitance becomes redundant, they are not of significant here to consider frequency limitations. And we can also ignore resistances like RGS, RGD and RDS. So, these resistances also becomes will have a small values, okay, they are independent of frequency. So, that can be ignored. So, output current what we obtain is going to be the short circuit current because the moment we ignore resistance and these capacitances becomes dominant, the output current will be the short circuit current. And if you look at the reactance of the capacitances at high frequency when as the frequency of gate to source AC signal. So, this is an AC signal. If this signal frequency increases, corresponding gate to drain and gate to source reactance, this is X indicates capacitive reactance. So, this is capacitive reactance. So, capacitive reactance decreases because at higher frequency this is X is equal to omega 1 by omega c. So, this Xc is equal to 1 by omega c. So, this can be written as Xc as capacitive reactance 1 by 2 pi Fc. As F increases, the capacitive reactance decreases because F is in denominator. So, that is a reason here and current through the CGD keeps increasing, because you can see that current I through the this gate to drain keeps increasing because the reactance keeps decreasing. For constant transconductance and gate source voltage, IDS keeps dropping. Okay, so if we maintain input as constant and IDS keeps decreasing, so output current now it becomes a function of frequency. Okay, we will see that how this output current IDS is now it's a function of frequency, because even if you look at this expression like IDS is equal to GM times VGS. So, this VGS is a function of frequency. Okay, so this is a function of frequency. So, therefore, this IDS also becomes function of frequency. So, this is also a function of frequency. Okay, so output current now it's a function of frequency. Now, let us determine the cutoff frequency FT. FT is denoted as cutoff frequency. The definition is the frequency at which the magnitude of the input current II. Okay, so the magnitude of input current is II, when it becomes equal to the ideal output current, which is GM times VGS. So, this is IDS. So, when in order to find out this cutoff frequency, we need to equate the input current to the output current, which is IDS. This is output current and this is going to be the input current. Okay, so that is the definition of cutoff frequency. Let us now derive that with reference to the circuit what we have shown. This is the circuit again. Once again, I will relook into this. Now, let us calculate what is this input capacitance. Input current here, input current now can be written as this voltage divided by the total capacitance. Since capacitance are going to be in parallel, so this capacitance value will get added, and the total capacitance now becomes C is equal to CGD plus CGS. So, you can call this as total capacitance at the gate. Okay, so same thing we have shown here. You can look at so the input current now is AC voltage VGS divided by 1 by, this is the reactance, capacitive reactance, 1 by j omega into CGS plus CGD. So, the net capacitance is at the gate is this. So, CGS plus CGD. So, if this goes to numerator, and you have now CII is equal to input current is equal to j omega. So, we have a j complex term and omega is angular frequency. CGS plus CGD, this is the total capacitance at the input multiplied with gate source voltage AC signal here. Now, you can indicate this CGS plus CGD as a total gate capacitance here. So, the CGS plus CGD, in place of this you can substitute as CG. So, the input current after substitution becomes IA is equal to j omega CG times VGS. Okay. To avoid this complex term, you can take modulus, and the value becomes now modulus of input current is 2 pi omega is equivalent to 2 pi ft. Here you can see here this omega angular frequency is now made equal to 2 pi ft. So, if you substitute that in place of omega as a 2 pi ft, since the absolute value is taken here, so this becomes negligible. So, Cg total capacitance times VGS. But now, according to our definition of cutoff frequency, input current should be equal to the output current IDS. So, now output current is GM times VGS, which is equal to the input current, which is 2 pi ft. So, input current you can see here, just now we have shown here, this is the input current 2 pi ft times Cg times VGS. So, VGS cancels here. You can now obtain formula for Ft from this equation. So, Ft is equal to Gm divided by 2 pi Cg. The cutoff frequency of the JFET device now depends on transconductance of the MOSFET. It also depends on the capacitance Cg. Okay, Cg is now which is equivalent to the CGS plus CGD. It's addition of two capacitances because they are parallel. Okay, so this is the formula for cutoff frequency of the JFET device. Now, let us try to obtain the another equivalent formula for cutoff frequency. The maximum possible transconductance is given by this. This is the formula for maximum transconductance of the JFET, which depends on electron charge and mobility of electron, uh, doping concentration, width of the MOSFET, space charge width, and channel length of a transistor. So, if you this transconductance maximum transconductance depends on all these parameters. The typical values and notation of each and every notation has been defined here. So, E stands for electron charge, which is 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb. Mu n is electron mobility, which is 1000 centimeter square per volt second. Nd is donor concentration, typically its value is 10 to the power of 16 per cubic, this value is 10 to the power of 16 per cubic centimeter. W here used is width of a transistor, which is in micron. So, considering micrometer technology, A is the space charge width and L is the channel length. Okay, so, this is the formula for maximum transconductance. We can also calculate minimum gate capacitance. Formula for that is, this is since JFET acts like a capacitor, the formula for this is epsilon into area. Area is given by just it's a product of width into length. This is nothing but area. Formula for capacitance is epsilon into C is equal to epsilon A by distance between the plates. But here area is now area of a transistor. Distance between the plates is A. Okay. Other parameters used here as defined here. So, permittivity of silicon, the standard value must be remembered. The value is going to be 11.7 and epsilon naught is absolute permittivity, 8.854 into 10 to the power of minus 14 farad per centimeter, and all other things are defined. Capital A is nothing but gate area and small a is space charge width. Okay, let us call this as equation 4, minimum gate capacitance formula. Maximum possible transconductance, this formula let us denote it as equation 3. Ft definition, let us denote that as equation 2, and input current is equation 1. Now, we can substitute equation 3 and 4 in equation 2. Just have a relook at what is equation 3 and 4. You can see equation 3 is maximum possible transconductance, equation 4 is minimum gate capacitance, and equation 2 is nothing but cutoff frequency. Okay, the cutoff frequency Ft equals Gm times Gm divided by Gm times Gm divided by 2 pi Cg. So, if you can substitute the equation 3 and 4 in equation 2, the simplified equation is as shown here. Ft equals E mu n Nd A square divided by 2 pi epsilon of silicon into L square. Okay, so, if you look at specific JFET, gallium arsenide JFET, the value of Ft is going to be larger, and even for high frequency devices. So, the transit times becomes very large. Okay, and because of that, the Ft needs some modification for especially for high frequency devices. We cannot rely on these equations, and definitely for high frequency devices this Ft needs some modification. That means additional component may be inserted in order to determine this Ft cutoff frequency of the transistor, especially for high frequency devices. Gallium arsenide field effect transistors, they are used in ultra fast digital ICs. This is an application, and this ICs this gallium arsenide FETs are faster than this emitter coupled logic. Okay, this is a technology used to develop in logic circuits, but the power consumption, if you look at this gallium arsenide FETs, they are 3 times smaller compared to the ECL. And in particular, if you look at enhancement mode case gallium arsenide JFETs, they are used in driver circuits, in logic, in drivers used as drivers in logic circuits, and depletion mode devices like gallium arsenide JFETs are used as a loads. So, it is a typical application of enhancement and depletion mode gallium arsenide JFETs. Okay. And finally, we have here this graph here, which shows a transconductance versus the gate source voltage, the dependence. gate source voltage, if it is negative, the transconductance is very less. Okay, as you can see here, -1, -2, -3, that means gate to source voltage is negative, the transconductance decreases. Whereas for positive or 0 and above, gate source voltage transconductance value is going to be high. Here we have a two transconductances we have shown here. One is without RS, other one is with RS. So here without any prime notation here, this transconductance shows this is without RS resistance which is connected at source. Without RS, we can see that as the GM value is going to be very high compared to the GM value with RS. So this is G prime MS is the transconductance with RS. RS, as we know that this is RS, let us write it here, this is with RS. With RS, we know that due to the negative feedback, transconductance decreases. Okay. So, without RS, there is no feedback, henceforth the transconductance is very high. Okay. So, this graph shows you the variation of transconductance with reference to the gate source voltage. Okay. And here we have a small simple problem, straightforward problem here. So, you need to calculate the cutoff frequency of a silicon JFET. Data is as shown here, the mobility is given, doping concentration, space charge width, L, channel length is given. You can substitute in this formula we have shown just now. You can substitute all these values and you end up with this final answer for cutoff frequency as 3.54 gigahertz. That is the frequency of cutoff frequency for the JFET device, what we consider. Okay. Okay, I think we have covered this frequency of operation or frequency limitations of JFET. What is important for examination sake is the formula. So, you need to remember the formulas we have given with different equation numbers. So, you need to remember that may be useful in solving problems. Okay. Any questions regarding this frequency of operations? Okay, let us move on to the MOSFETs, introduction to MOSFET. Okay, so this is again continuation of the FET. So, if MOSFET, this is again an alternative device. JFET has a drawback. So, if here comparison between JFET and MOSFET is important. So, JFET versus MOSFET. So, one drawback what we have with reference to JFET is gate current. Okay, so if you see symbol of a JFET, the gate and drain, gate and source, they are not isolated, they are connected. Okay. So, therefore, at some point of time it may result in gate current here. So, gate current you cannot take it as 0, it is not equal to 0. Okay, it has some finite value. So, now this causes here some power dissipation continuously, consistently it will happen within the device here. So, that is the problem with reference to the JFET. This problem can be easily overcome by using devices called as a MOSFET. In MOSFET you can see there is a perfect isolation between the gate and drain and gate and source. The symbol for MOSFET is as shown here. So, we will have same terminals what you are seeing. Okay, but there is an insulation here, empty space here. You can see, just remove this. And redraw it for your reference. So, let me draw here vertical line, and now you can see here this is the gate terminal. So, this we have a gate here, drain, source here. This empty space what you are seeing between the gate and between drain or source is nothing but insulator, SiO2. Okay, so now there is a perfect isolation between the gate and drain and gate and source. So therefore, the gate leakage current can be minimized by using this MOSFETs. That's the advantage of MOSFET. The heart of the MOSFET is a metal oxide semiconductor structure known as MOS capacitor. So if you look at the here, MOS indicates it is that shows the physical structure of a device, and FET is nothing but it is operation. Okay, the MOS operates in terms of field effect here. The output current is controlled by the variation in the input voltage. Okay. So, the first three letters indicates physical structure of a device, MOS, metal oxide and semiconductor. Last three letters indicates the operation of the device, which is by the field effect. Okay, so that's how the output current is controlled. The energy bands in the semiconductor near the oxide semiconductor interface bend as voltage is applied across the mass capacitor. So, here there is an uh, interfacing layer that is between semiconductor and the oxide. So, that energy bands will bend as voltage is applied across a mass capacitor. So, the reason why we call here as MOS as mass capacitor is because the working principle can be best understood if you analyze the capacitor here. So, the MOSFET and capacitor they are their working are similar. Okay. So, therefore, if you have a knowledge of the capacitor, so the MOS device can be best understood. The positions of the conduction band, valence band relative to the Fermi level at the oxide semiconductor interface is a function of the mass capacitor voltage. So, the Fermi levels we have seen this in the semiconductors, semiconductors will have conduction band, valence band, and it is relative to the Fermi level if you look at, and in particularly at the interface like oxide and semiconductor. So, here you may have confusion. Let me show the device where exactly the oxide and semiconductor. You can see this is going to be the MOS structure. There is a oxide, you can see this is silicon dioxide here. I will just highlight this area. So, this is silicon dioxide, this is an oxide. Okay, so, we attach terminal to this oxide, that is called using a metal here. So, this is a gate, and now you can see there is a silicon dioxide which is an insulator, and below that you can see there is a substrate here. Substrate here is we can choose substrate depending on the type of channel required here. So, this is going to be a two terminal MOS structure, because you can see there is a metal. Okay, so, there is an oxide and semiconductor, that is why the name is MOS. Okay, so, there is a metal, M stands for metal and O stands for oxide, and last S stands for semiconductor. Okay, so, that is why the name metal oxide semiconductor. Okay, now let us define few things here. So, we have seen that the positions of the conduction band and valence band relative to the Fermi level at oxide semiconductor interface. So, here you can see this is an oxide. So, this is the oxide layer and semiconductor interface, you can see this layer. Okay, so, this region whatever it is shaded here, that is the interface, oxide semiconductor interface. Now, let us see what is going to happen when the voltage is applied to the gate. The characteristics of the semiconductor surface can be inverted from P type to N type or from N type to P type by applying proper voltage at the gate. So, here in this example what we have shown, so depending upon what voltage we are going to apply to the gate, if we apply here say positive voltage, okay, now you can see that here this upper plate is now positively charged, it gets positive charges reside on this the metal layer, and below you can see that due to the capacitance effect you can see negative charges here like this. Okay, so, they get reside below the interface here. This is a oxide and semiconductor interface, below that they reside. That is what we are trying to say here. Okay, so, there is a characteristics of semiconductor surface you can invert now. Okay, from p type to n type or n type to p type by applying proper voltage. Again, if you look at this figure here, the positive voltage we applied to the gate, and look at the layer what it has formed, what kind of layer it has formed here. It is negative layer. So, for a positive voltage applied to the gate, there is a induction of negative charges below semiconductor oxide interface, and reverse is also true. That means, if you apply negative voltage here to the gate, then you can see positive charges will get induced below the semiconductor oxide interface here. Okay, so, this charges which are residing here are induced charges here. Okay, depends on the type of voltage what we applied at the gate. So, positive gate voltage, negative charges get induced, negative gate voltage, positive charges induces between the semiconductor and oxide interface. So, when we say the negative charges are induced here, the complete material now becomes n type, because you can see the entire region as we increase this positive gate voltage. Okay. So, if once positive gate voltage keeps increases, then corresponding okay, so the charges residing here is will also increase. So, in this case it is going to be negative charge induces. So, therefore, negative charges increases. Okay. So, that means we are converting, suppose if the type of substrate is say p type, okay, we are making this p type as an n type. You can see that within the p type semiconductor substrate, type of charges which are residing at a semiconductor oxide interface, you can see it all depends on what voltage we applied. For positive gate voltage, negative charges reside below the semiconductor and oxide interface, whereas for the negative voltage here, positive charges will get induced. Okay. So, that difference one should know. Okay. So, that is what we are trying to say here. The characteristics of the semiconductor surface can be inverted. We can make the substrate from p type, if the originally if it is an n type, or from n type to p type originally if it is an n type here. So, that change of the semiconductor here, I mean charges here, accumulation of charges what you are seeing here, that changes depending on the voltage applied to gate. So, for positive gate voltage, negative charges will get accumulate below say a semiconductor and oxide interface. For a negative gate voltage, positive charges will get accumulate here. Okay. So, that is what we are trying to say here. So, you can invert the complete type of channel here. The operation and characteristics of the MOSFET are dependent on this inversion and the creation of an inversion charge density at semiconductor interface. So, you can see the inversion charge density will accumulate at the semiconductor interface. Next, let us define what do we mean by threshold voltage. Threshold voltage is a voltage applied to the gate that required to create an inversion layer. Okay. So, here if you look at this diagram here, as we said that the positive voltage is applied to gate. Okay. So, what voltage at the gate creates a negative charges here. Okay. So, charges must be such that it should allow the current to flow from source side to the drain side here. Okay. So, that voltage we define as a threshold voltage. So, threshold voltage is nothing but it is a gate to source voltage only, but for what gate source voltage or for what voltage applied at the gate, negative charges get induced. So, that is called as threshold voltage. Okay. So, that is what we said here, and which creates an inversion layer. It is one of the most important parameters of the MOSFET. MOSFET has variety of various parameters. Among that, the threshold voltage is one of the important parameters. Okay. So, apart from this basic things what we have discussed, we will also discuss the type of MOSFETs and the current flow with current voltage characteristics. Okay. Mathematical derivation of current voltage characteristics, frequency response and limitations of the MOSFET here. Okay. We will pick topics as per our syllabus. Okay. Though we mentioned here, we are going to start with types of MOSFET and characteristics, but generally we will look into the syllabus and what all the topics included in the syllabus, those topics will pick up here. Okay. So, fabrication of MOSFET we will see in the next class. Okay. Any questions or any queries you have regarding this introduction to MOSFET? Okay, if there are no questions, let us stop at this point. Next class, we would like to continue with MOSFET fabrication.